Let's go, baby.
You are watching the Leaf and Ash podcast with Panda, PC, Dawn, and Rush. We sip and smoke. We sip and smoke.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. What's going on, guys? Welcome to another Sip and Smoke on the Leaf and Ash podcast. I'm your host, Panda, along with we got a new guest with us today. Okay, but we'll get with them in a moment. But as always, guys, I got my compadres with me. PC is running a little behind, but he'll be here momentarily. Let's start off with on the top left, the one finger pecker sensation, JJ, aka Cigar. What up, baby?
How the you doing?
Hey, what's going on? What's going on? On the bottom left, guys, is the boy Donnie Boy. He's a little sour. He's a little sour. You know what I mean? Speaking of the guy, intro, the man, the one and only Don, who's, or should I say, the loser Don. What's going on, Cigar Don? How you doing, buddy?
Salty. I'm proud of my team. I'm not salty.
Salty, baby.
I'm not salty. I'm proud of them.
He's salty as heck, buddy.
What I'm salty is Mr. Flip Flop wearer over there. You know.
Oh, hey, I got it right here. Right here.
This man spends his life saying how much he's a University of Miami fan, and then University of Florida's playing. All of a sudden, he's a Gator for life.
You didn't make it to the Final Four, so I got to root for the Florida team. It ain't my fault that your boys. I'm just saying.
I cannot argue that. I cannot argue that sentiment.
I'm just saying, Chokeville.
Hey, I hate to interrupt, but hey, was that slide? That was what a size? What 6.5?
Oh, first of all, buddy, 9.5. Okay. Let's get that straight. I ain't even finished introducing everybody. You already busting my chops here. And the gentleman that just showed up, big dog, PCAK, Silverback. What up, big dog?
Man, what's happening with you? What's going on, Clint?
What's up, man? What's up?
Man, there you go. And our special guest for tonight, guys. If you guys don't know this gentleman, I highly recommend that you guys follow him on social media pages. Memento Cigars, Clint. The guy is a phenomenon. I'm telling you guys, you will not be disappointed. Guys, before we get started on this hot topic that everybody in the industry is talking about, like I said, it is a sip and smoke episode. What we're sipping on, what we're smoking. What do you got there, Mutt?
Oh, I'm smoking that Rocky Patel Emerald, and I'm drinking some of the Old Granddad 114.
Oh, nice. Nice. What about you, Donnie boy?
I am smoking the Ave Maria Reconquista.
Okay.
It comes in a nice coffin box. Really nice cigar. I haven't had one of these in a while, so I figured I'd give it a shot. And I'm sipping on some port wine. Bougie as always.
You know, he's elevating. And Clint, I think he's trying to catch up to your status. You know what it is. You've been hanging out with him a couple of times in his lounge, and I think you're rubbing off on him. Next thing you know, he's gonna show up in a suit and tie one time over here. You know what I mean? And then it's over. And then it's gonna be over. You know, another Donadolph there. PC, you smoking anything yet?
Man, if y'all will allow me to get me something, man.
Go for it, man. Go. Go get your stuff, brother. Go for it. Hey, Clint, what you smoking? I know what you sipping on.
Yeah, I'm smoking the
bougie.
I know, right? The Etefal from Plasencia. It's the World Cup cigar. And I am sipping a nice fresh brewed cup of Kirkland's hot coffee. So that's that Costco brand. You know, I only drank the best.
What kind of coffee is that? What is it? Coffee, right?
I gotta figure out where I get that coffee.
Yeah, I'm just saying. So, guys, the Panda is sipping on Uncle Nearest 1850 600 proof. First time I'm cracking it open, it is absolutely tasting delicious with this Aficionados number 2. It was rated a 95 back in 2021. Does anyone know what it is? Any guesses?
Number 5.
No, it was number 2 in
Okay.
Aficionados list. It was rated a 95 in 2021.
Is it a Monte Cristo
Ooh.
anniversary?
Look at this man. Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Nice. That's a great stick.
1935 anniversary, number 2. And this is why we invited this guy here, guys. You know, this is why we invited. We're trying to elevate our
I
game.
memorize the top 25 every year. I have them all downloaded.
Oh my lord!
Okay, Clint. Here's the test. What was the number 10 cigar this year?
Who cares?
Oh, right.
Who cares?
Right.
That brick
Who
house.
cares?
Hey, don't walk into that.
See, Clint, they're trying to. They see these guys are starting early, man. They're trying to get me riled up, and you know what? You're a guest. I'm trying to keep my composure. You know what I mean? The number 10, I'll tell you what it was. It was the crap house. I mean, the brick house. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
That's what
yeah.
it was. How did number 10? That's, you know what? We're not here to talk about the aficionados list. We're here to talk about the hot topic. But before we get it, PC, what you grab, man? What you smoking? What you sipping on?
Hey, man, after the day I just had, brother, I started with the West Tampa Boliche Boulevard, baby.
Boulevard, baby.
And the follow suit, Uncle Nearest. Uncle Nearest, baby. Uncle Nearest.
There it is.
Like
And I
SpongeBob said, when in doubt, pinky out.
Yeah. but like I said, I told you it would be nice, right?
Oh, dude, it is nice. So, all right, guys, let's get to it. All right, guys, just as a kind of prerequisite, you guys understand, we're staying away from the political aspect of it. You know, we just want to talk about the impact that these tariffs are going to have on the cigar industry as a whole. We all know that the PCA is a couple of days away. And I know for a fact that a good buddy of mine, not mentioning no names, you know, we had a conversation in regards to it. And, these guys that are already in the PCA, they already have a ton of pre-orders that are already been purchased per se, right? And as we all know, that pretty much the number one country that imports cigars to the United States is Nicaragua. We all know this. They estimate about 65% of the industry that imports hand-rolled premium cigars to the United States is from Nicaragua. And we have all the big names out there, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. And so, and depending on where you read, it's anywhere between 18 and 19%. But I believe Don said that they confirmed it today is actually officially 19%.
Wow.
So, and there's other countries, obviously Honduras, DR, and I believe they're at 10%,
Right.
But before we kind of get deep into this, what are you guys' opinion and thoughts in regards to the tariffs, and what do you think is how and who do you guys feel that's going to be impacted the most? Clint, I'm gonna go with you because you are.
Oh man, shoot! Here we go.
Yeah, listen. The reason is because you actually work at a lounge as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And obviously, I'm interested to see what do you foresee, happening.
So, I mean, I fully expect the price of the cigars to go up. That's for sure. But is this is it a right decision or a wrong decision type of question, or is this just what do I think is going to happen?
I don't want to go into the right or wrong aspect of it.
Okay.
Yeah, because that'll take us to a whole different rabbit hole that I don't want to get into.
Tinfoil hat.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
That's a deep rabbit hole. But to me, like I said, I agree with you. I think across the board, is going to cost. Because what a lot of people don't understand, okay, you hear 19%, right? Or let's keep it real simple. Let's keep it at the 10% margin, right? So the 10% margin, people go, okay, if it's $10, it costs you $11. That's not the case. What people fail to understand is that they also import fees on top of that dollar. So what's going to end up happening, that $10 cigar could easily be $12 to even maybe $13, you know. And so across the board, like I said, and mind you, think about it, 18, 19%. Now we're looking at probably $3. So a cigar that would be $13 could be $16, $17, you know. So, I mean, you know, what do you think? I mean, because you run the shop.
Okay, you know what I think is going to I think hopefully I end up predicting the future. I think that this is going to, the United States is the largest consumer of this product globally. We
Yes.
consume the most cigars out of the world. And if the consumer ends up standing firm, we have the ability to force manufacturers to create quality budget blends if we end up purchasing these budget blends. But if we just buy the same cigar at the new price rather than purchasing something cheaper, I think that that's going to communicate that these manufacturers can get away with it, and they're just going to continue rolling as it is because it's like supply and demand, right? So hopefully enough of the cigar community is like, you know what? I'm not going to go for this cigar that I'm already paying $13 before the tariffs got implemented, because now it's going to be, let's say, $17 or something like that, right? Let me go for this other cigar. I don't know. Maybe it's the Nica Rustica Adobe, which is like $5 and some change, right? Excellent cigar for the price right now. And you know what? Whenever I smoked that during the freestyle live, in my mind, I actually said that it was a $7 or $8 cigar. That was before knowing the price. So I wouldn't even be pissed off paying that price because I always felt like it was worth that price to begin with. It may not be as much of a value, but yeah, that's what I would hope for. I hope that manufacturers uh, create blends that are still interesting, considering if we don't buy it, then they're losing their largest customer, being the United States.
Yeah, they
But
estimate over 1 billion, you know, as far as the consumption in the United States, and then you have Europe, you know, and then you have South Asia and stuff like that. It breaks
yeah,
down. But you made a valid point, right? Because think about it, the big companies. I'm talking about the Fuentes, the Padrones, you know, the Jaime Garcias, you know, the Plasencias. They could dictate their price point, right?
right,
Because they don't have to be, 20, 30, $40 cigars.
right.
They manufacturing from seed to plucking to rolling, right? So
hmm
they could
hmm
dictate that to maintain. Maybe it won't, the profit margin won't be as much as, but it's like, at what point is it enough, right?
Right.
Like, and I think us as consumers, I think we have a lot of power. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? You made a very, very valid point that honestly I didn't even think of, and it really says a lot about us as the consumer, and that is one thing I've always argued, that the true strength in the cigar industry are the consumers, not the manufacturers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But
Yeah.
what about you, JJ? What do you think, man?
Uh, in the grand scheme of things, I hope the one thing this isn't off topic. It's still on the tariffs. I hope everybody just agrees and kind of folds and everything goes back to normal. But we know that's not likely to happen.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm reading right here, the base impact. If you buy a box of cigars, the import, it's 18% more now. Just on a single box is now 18% more. You know,
Mhm.
that's not going to hurt the cigar box over here. but that's going to hurt El Guapo's up the road.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
That could bury him. You know,
Yeah.
he's a small hometown lounge.
Mhm.
You know, for me, you know, if I'm already paying $10 for a cigar, you know, what's $1, and a half?
Right.
You know, it's not that big of an issue per se, but you know, it's the little man is definitely gonna feel this. Like, you know, you're gonna have people standing on his throat, and it's definitely gonna drive people out if this lasts any period of time. It's gonna drive the small guys out, and you know, the big guys won't necessarily have to worry. They will a little bit. Like I said, their profit margins will be tanked, but you know, they're going to be around. Like I said, Padrones and everything like that. Drew Estate. You think this is going to drastically, you know, hurt them? No. You know, they're some of the biggest cigars on earth. You know, everybody loves the Drew Estate. You know, and their fan base is great. They're crazy.
Yes.
And you know, I hope everything can go back to normal because I don't want to see the little guy get weeded out.
Yeah. And that's a valid point. You know, and I had excuse me. I had a conversation with a small retail store owner, right? And he's very fortunate because he has the finances
Yeah.
to purchase now, right? Before, because what's the it goes into effect tomorrow, the 9th, right? The second portion of it.
Mhm.
So you have a lot of people doing a lot of pre-orders now. Okay. Now, what happens to the manufacturers, right? The companies, they're gonna end up having to bite whatever comes in after the 9th.
Yeah.
So you kind of hope that for their sake that they ordered enough and had it already shipped to the States
Yeah.
before the second portion came in, right? Because if not, guess what? What do? You're going to have to either bite the difference because you already sold and made an agreement with these people that purchased, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's like the biggest concern with these especially that's the big talk right now in the PCA, or it's going to be, you know.
Yeah.
And as you guys know, JJ is going to be at the PCA as one of the reps for Big Sky, you know, and there's going to be a lot of talk. I guarantee there's going to be a lot of chatter at the PCA this year.
And I was listening to my favorite cigar podcast, other than our own, and they were supposed to have and I forget his name, the guy for Villiger, and he was talking about he has to move everything before tomorrow,
Right.
and not only does he have to do that, but now he has to pay for additional storage.
Right. You had to get an extra warehouse. That's right. I listened to the same individual. And you know what? We could give him a shout out because he's well deserved. You know, it's David Garofalo and the Cigar Authorities. You know, we have a lot of respect for that man. You know, the man knows he's in depth in the industry. He knows a lot of people. He has a lot of insight, a lot of things that we wouldn't be able to do it because, you know, he knows hell of a lot more people than we do, you know. And mind you, he was supposed to be a guest on Saturday, but he couldn't. He had to cancel because of all this running around, you know. But PC, well, I want to get your input on this. What do you think, man?
Well, I kind of take the path that Clint took, but maybe a little bit more in depth. Because the first thing I did when I got this assignment was I looked up the top 5 commodities and the top 10 commodities that's traded and sold throughout the world in the country. And what I came up with, it might be if it's getting on the political side, stop me. We're basically okay. Let me go this route with you. When it comes to supply and demand, we do have most of the power as consumers, simply because we can participate or not participate, and that way we drive the prices up or down, or they stay the same. And if you use your buying power, if you value your dollar, then you can dictate what the price might be in your shop or in the area that you're in, because those people want to stay in business. That's what I'm looking at. That's how I'm looking at it straight from a consumer standpoint. Now, when I got to look more in depth, I come to realize that we're at war, and this is not political. We're in order to keep from us going to war with different countries, we're in a trade war.
Yep.
And according to Warren Buffett, that you know that may be good or bad. Most likely, he's saying that is bad, but it could benefit us in the long run. So we're kind of cording ourselves off because of the people. Well, our country think that people have been taking advantage of us. But if we continue down this road, we still have the power to dictate what prices will be, because now that they're saying the manufacturers can eat some of this cost of the 9% or the 18% or whatever they're putting on the tariffs, and also the retail shops can also eat some of that cost if we utilize our buying power. So that's my take on it, just as a whole.
Right. And it's a valid point, because you also listen. There are some countries already that are kind of somewhat have already indicated in their own way that they're kind of retracting. They're going to the zero tariffs of us going importing to them. I'm not going to go into the countries. If you guys want, look it up because it's accessible. But to me, I still think, and this is, I don't want to get into the next question, but I still think that, like we were saying prior, that the small retailers are going to suffer the most because they don't have the finances, they don't have the consumer. Perfect example. Excuse me, I don't know what's going on, but JJ lives in a small town, right? JJ lives in a very small town. My lounge, I'm not worried about my lounge. I'm not worrying about the smoke-ins. I'm not worrying about the Monte Cristo lounges and stuff like that, because they have the finances to back. But there's a thing called keystone pricing, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, and what keystone pricing is, this is how the industry works. If I own a cigar, I buy my cigar for $4 a stick. I sell it to the retailers, the stores, for $8. The retailer sells it to the consumer for $16. So basically, the keystone pricing is a 50% markup all the way up, or should I say all the way down to us, the consumer.
Yeah.
Okay, that's how you know. So when you paying for a $20 cigar, your guy paid 10, and they sold it, and the guy made it for 5. That's how it breaks down.
And you know, like just what PC said, that's what gives them that margin to be able to eat some of that cost.
That's right.
Right. But we all know there's going to be some lounges, right, they're not going to do that. And you're going to have, once again, the consumer is going to be up to you guys. You guys, you notice I didn't say use. You guys, us, as a whole, to get together. Listen, first of all, we need a support. I don't want this to be, a bitch fest and stuff like that, because the reality is that people that get into this industry is to make money. There's no secret to it. You know what I mean? We're not trying to avoid for people making a living, but if you want to continue to make that living, just like they said, you're going to have to eat maybe 5% of that cost.
Right.
So you're not making 50%. Now you're making 45%, right? There's got to be, you got to find a medium. You as the retailer, as a lounge owner, you're gonna have to figure that out. You know. So, but before I get to my next question, Don, what says you, man?
I got 3 points on this. And one of them you just talked about is keystone pricing. So the manufacturer sells it for $4 and brings it to the US for $4. He's going to get the 10% tax or the 10% tariff on that. So it's going to be $4.40.
Right.
Now, is the keystone pricing going to hold? And now that stick is $8.80 to the retailer and $16.60 to us, versus just passing on that 40 cents, or are they going to keystone price that tariff up as well? That's going to have to be between. It's going to have to listen. At the end of the day, every lounge owner is going to have to dictate that.
Right.
At the end, that's what. Do you want to continue to keep your clientele? Right? Yeah. Because we all know, right? We all know that there's certain cigars that are not worth a certain price point.
Yeah.
Right? Because I know I'm not willing to pay a cigar that's $15 that I know is worth $8, right?
And also that $16 cigar that I'm going to buy, I'm going to pay 10% on that $16 versus 10% on the $4 that they got charged. So I think manufacturers and distributors and lounge owners are going to have to decide how that's going to. Is it just a pass along tax or tariff? You saying taxes? Is it a pass along tariff or is it a keystone tariff? Like, we're going to pay 3-4 times that tariff by the time it gets to us. My second point is, so you get a manufacturer like one of the big guys, Mente or one of those. They're bringing their stuff over here, and they're selling directly to the lounge room. You get somebody like, Espinosa to a certain degree, or West Tampa, who has another manufacturer rolling for them. That manufacturer is now going to have an advantage because they're coming over and paying the tariff on their first cost, where that secondary manufacturer is now paying the tariff on their keystone side of that. So Espinosa might pay 10% on $8 versus $4.
Right.
So it gives an advantage again to those big legacy. And my third point is, you guys all give me a hard time, and I take it. It's fun about smoking high-end cigars and smoking, what a lot of people would call a celebratory cigar on the regular. But I think people like me and other people, going to then now make that cigar again a celebratory cigar.
Right.
Instead of so that cuts down on the amount of those cigars, and goes back to Clint's point of West Tampa would be a perfect example. You can get a West Tampa, and I've shared 100 times that West Tampa Red's my favorite cigar. You can get that from anywhere, depending on the lounge, from $8 to $11.
Mm-hmm.
And go to that because it's not going to be, and I think that's our way of like everybody kind of said, dictating those prices.
No, and you're right, because that was something that was also discussed, that those who do get their cigars manufactured by another company or by a farm, let's use AJ, because AJ, he rolls for a lot of people, including Espinosa, even though Espinosa has his own farms, right? But there's certain cigars that they've chosen to have AJ roll and use their tobacco. And I believe the knuckle on sandwich is one of that series, that blend. It is going to mark things up a lot more. It is going to, and it rolls downhill. And I agree. It's going to have to be a battle between the manufacturers and the retailers, okay, the lounges, that they're gonna have to probably even split that extra cost and eat it. You know what I mean? Because it's the only way they're going to be able to stay in business, right?
Absolutely.
Because listen, who's going to spend $8 on a factory smoke? Let's be real. And there's nothing against factory smoke. I'm just saying it's a $2, $3 cigar. You're gonna tell me you're gonna pay $6 for it, $8 for that cigar? Heck no, right? Listen, you have 50% to figure out how much you're willing to eat.
What you're gonna find, like great example, the factory smoke, where they sell those in a 20 to 30 bundle, you might have a 15 to 20 bundle.
Right.
So, and the price may still, be dictated by the bundle upward just a little bit. So you're going to get less for what you purchase.
Yeah.
And that's kind of that supply and demand thing, just so that they can make money without making the consumer feel like they're not getting anything for their dollar,
Or being taken advantage of.
Yeah.
Right.
Because none of us
I didn't want to say that though.
No. Listen, it's all about transparency, right? Because we know that the consumer, it rolls downhill and the consumer's at the very bottom. Mm-hmm. Okay. And the reality of it is that, we're the ones that make, think about it. This is how much power, I need you guys to understand this, that we as consumers truly have all the power, because guess what? If we start smoking, there are no more lounges. There's no more big names,
Right.
out to have a life. We as consumers have given these people a lifestyle.
Right.
And to me, in my opinion, and listen, opinions are like, what, and everyone has one, but there's certain companies that made millions off of us. So you know what? I have no qualms with saying that certain, if not all, need to eat these tariffs taxes and be loyal to their consumers just as much as their consumers are loyal to them.
But I'll go back to this. Give me just a second, Jay.
You're good.
I'll go to this. That's where you have to put a value on your dollar. And if you don't just because you got money don't mean you spend it.
Yeah.
And you got to spend your money with a purpose. Just because, we can't be the only ones that's feeling this. You know what I'm saying? So we know that we're going to buy cigars. It just depends on what cigars we're going to buy. So I value my dollar because I bust my butt for it. And, and I want to be, I want to have a better thought process on how I spend my money.
Well, you want more bang for your buck. That's what everyone wants, right? You want to get more bang. Who doesn't want that, right?
Adopt a Padron. Just be able to order 20 cigars without the box.
Right.
Put a nice ribbon around it. That's a way to eat some cost.
Listen.
Yeah.
I spoke to one manufacturer. He's a boutique guy. You know what I mean? And that's why he's already started. He started getting rid of his boxes. He's got rid of certain fancy cellophane and the bands and this and that. He went simpler to go after the consumer that are more on a budget, right? Because listen, it's your average blue collar guys.
Back to the pyramid.
That's it. Yes,
Back
absolutely. JJ, explain the pyramid for those who don't know the pyramid.
Well, especially now, with these tariffs, the guys at the top of this pyramid, they don't give a rat's arse what they pay for them cigars because it's nothing to them.
Right.
But that other 99% underneath them, and especially the closer you get to the bottom, the extra couple dollars can make or break you.
Of course.
And ultimately, that's who it's going to affect those closer to the bottom. Like I said, the ones at the top, they don't care anyway. Go to the lounge anyway. They got a $45 cigar and they smoke it down this far and they walk away. They don't care. They don't care.
Yeah, absolutely. Go down.
I predict, we might get into this later, and if you do stop me, but I predict there's a cigar company that came out today said they're lowering their prices. They're lowering their prices and when this tariff comes on, they'll be and I don't mind saying who it is. It was United Cigars, and we all know who's involved in United Cigars. It's Dave Garofalo and all those things. They're lowering their prices. That means something to me.
Right.
Absolutely.
That means something to me. I honestly have never smoked United Cigar. I'm going to look for just to try one. I may like them, I may not. Who knows? But that means something that and it's just like the S chip. When Perdomo ate the S chip, it blew up. It blew up their business. They were already a solid player in the game, but people went, oh, they're eating. Okay, So.
I mean, listen, and listen, there are some okay. So we know Nicaragua is at 19% tariffs. DR and Honduras is at 10%. We know that there's certain manufacturers, big names, that have factories in Honduras. Here's a loophole, right? What do you see happening, right? Because I see those who have farms in Nicaragua are going to send them to Honduras, so from Honduras to the States. So you're saving 8-9% right off rip.
Yep.
But do I see maybe everybody getting together and doing that, and getting with, because I think Rocky Patel has a place in Honduras. I know Padron, that's where they started. I'm sure they still have their hands tied to somewhere in Honduras, right? There's a bunch of other countries out there that have their manufacture or know people in Honduras that I'm sure that everybody's like negotiating, right? Because there's a loophole So you're saving 8 to 9% on that, right?
Mhm.
So, to me, it's a loophole that I feel a lot of these guys are going to probably negotiate to alleviate, um, the downward spiral of the tariffs. You know what I mean? And which I don't care. Just save me money,
Yeah.
right? Just save me money.
Because this
I'm
could,
being honest. Like, it's just crazy. Now, here's my next question, and I'm gonna start off again with you, Cliff. So, and I know this is something that we spoke to with David Garofalo, and he absolutely despises this. Okay, is these online companies, and I'm gonna mention them like Cigar Bit, Cigar Page, CI, that drastically discount their cigars. Do you see that blowing up? And exactly what CI wants, are they going to get what they want if this doesn't, if these tariffs do not shut off good? If they don't shut down good, what's your input on that, Clint?
Abso-freaking-lutely.
Hmm?
I think it's unavoidable because at the end of the day, I really don't have a loyalty to anybody. I have a loyalty to myself to
To your
make sure that
pocket.
I'm getting the best price. Right. It's like me, my wife, my family. It's like, I'm sorry, any other cigar manufacturer out there, but I'm making sure I'm taking care of mine first, and I'm still going to get your product at a cheaper price because
Mhm.
I don't even shop cigar bid. But if I was in that situation where I felt like the tariff impacted the cigars that I liked enough, then I would do that. I work at a cigar shop, so I get a good enough deal regardless. Even with the tariffs implemented, I'm still going to be getting a better price than the vast majority of people, right? So, but honestly, like, yeah, absolutely. I'm doing what's best for me at the end of the day.
Yeah,
I have no loyalty to anybody.
right. Like I said, we're loyal to our pockets.
yeah.
Hmm.
Mhm.
And that's just reality. It's unfortunate, But I see, I if I'm CI, because CI owns all these, subsidiaries.
Yeah.
I can't even say it right, but they own all these entities, right? And mind you, this is what they've wanted from day one,
Yeah.
right? They want this. I guarantee you that CI is probably doing backflips over this
Dude.
because they're like, please come. Because listen, we're all guilty here. The four of us here.
Absolutely.
Listen, I have gotten 40. I think the best deal I've ever gotten is 52 cigars for a little over $100.
In banger cigars at that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you get what I'm saying? And to me, listen, there's no secret. I support my brick and mortar. I
Yeah.
sometimes feel like they want me to pay their rent, their child support, their alimony, but the reality is those who are maybe more financially challenged, right?
Mhm.
That's
Mhm.
definitely going to be a better route for them.
Hmm.
That you could
And
go on
on that
Cigar
note,
Page
Pete,
and get
on that
30
note, Panda,
cigars, and then was that?
on that note, Panda, CI and CBID and CPAY, they don't have a lot of the new stuff coming out. It's going to hurt those new releases because people are going to say, hey, look, I can get whatever your cigar is for, should we go on one of those bids and we all trying to figure out the algorithm. Like, okay, if you're at 10:20 you're at 10:20 at night, that's when you get the best deal, type thing. But if I can get the cigars that I like from there, I might not branch out and try some new cigars if they're way more expensive. Um,
Yeah.
Now, personally, I will because I like trying the new stuff and I like trying whatever. Yeah, give it, but you know, I like trying the new stuff. I want to see what's new. Before we started recording, I asked Clint, "What's new at the shop, man? What do you got new?" And but it's I think Garofalo made a point that when we talked to him that why would you go to Walmart to buy a diamond? And my
Right.
and my answer and now that this conversation come up, my answer to that is if Walmart has the same exact diamond for 30% cheaper, why wouldn't I go do that?
Well,
And,
I'll tell you
and
why. you wouldn't do it because of when you're proposing. If it's not in a sales box, when you open it up, that woman's gonna say no.
Hey, yeah,
But the reason is to support your brick and mortar, and that's what Rob
Right.
Flow's point was: to support your brick and mortar. Don't buy at Walmart, buy at
Right.
you know, buy at Joe's cigar shop. And that's where this industry you know has lived, and and I do think we're making, not us as a whole, we're making a little bit of a mountain out of a molehill.
Hmm.
Mhm.
I read today that the average tariff for the mainstream pricing of cigars is going to be 50 cents to $2.10 a stick. Now that's the original tariff from the manufacturer to the distributor or whatever. Now,
Hmm.
if that gets Keystone priced up a couple times, now we might be talking to $2 to $8, for cigars. That hurts.
Mhm.
But you know, I know JC Newman came out today and they said they were going to see how it worked out, and they weren't going to raise their prices until at least May 1st.
Yeah,
We'll see
right.
how that works out.
But Jason Newman's in a whole different. It's a
You're
whole
right.
different beast because they're here based in the United States.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? So to me, they're able to say that because they're not really going to be affected by these tariffs because they're
Right.
already here. You get what I'm saying? And this is nothing against JC Newman, but they're more into the bundle cigars than they are the high premium cigars. Now, mind they do have the higher of their version of what's a higher
Yeah,
premium
like
cigar.
the
But
Diamond
for
Diamond
Crown.
Crown.
right,
Yeah.
but for the
Mhm.
most part, they're very known for their machine-made cigars, bundle cigars that are already inexpensive, and they won't be. I don't think they'll be directly or indirectly affected by them. So they're kind of able to talk in that. Because they said, "Well, May or rather
Yeah.
June, rather
May
June."
1st, and really May 1st is only a month away, but
Right.
they said they're going to make a decision on May 1st on when, if and when they have to do that.
Yeah,
They're kind of sitting back and saying, let's see how this progresses. You
right.
know,
I think what's happening. I think everybody's hoping within the next 3 months, all these countries that have been hit drastically. I think all but probably China.
Hmm.
You know, you know, um, although I mean, think about it. Lift something up and see underneath it what it says.
Oh,
I mean, let's be real, right? And you would think out of all the countries, they will be affected the most,
Right.
right? Because I mean, and like I said, I don't want to get to the political aspect of it, but I understand that portion of it.
Mhm.
I get it. Now, which brings me up to my next question. Okay, because of China, the majority of cigar accessories
oh,
come from China. And we know a particular company, is one of our sponsors, the Godfather,
yes,
right?
sir. Beautiful
You know,
individual.
okay. And if you haven't, thegodfather.com, guys, use the promo code, the Leaf and Ash Podcast, you get an additional 15%. Take advantage of it now.
You know, and I
So
have numbers for that, and it's disgusting.
it is disgusting. So you know what? So, since I already brought it up, you got numbers, talk about it.
Well, it says, the base impact, the import cost rises 54% before distributors. So your $10 cutter, it was $10 wholesale, it's now 15, retail 25, now closer to $35.
$15 accessory.
Exactly. $100 torch is now going to cost you like $175. No, everybody's going to go get that little Sputnik, that little 3-jet that I love. It's like $8.
Right. Listen,
Not no more.
I've shared with you guys. If I'm going to spend money, it's definitely not on a damn lighter.
No.
You can find something to light your cigar. I'm gonna spend my money on a good quality what?
Cutter.
Cut it.
Cutter. Listen, and the thing is this, guys, right? I think the accessory side of the industry is going to be so impacted
Yes.
that because once again, who if it's $15, who wants to pay $25, $30 for an accessory that a $3 cutter could do for you, right? and it sucks because it's unfortunate to me. In my opinion, it's a necessity. I understand it, whatever, but at the end, I understand the long goal, right? The long version of the agenda.
Yeah.
I
Right.
get what the agenda is. I understand it, and we all had a conversation off camera, and our last just us chopping it up in regards to previous to income tax and all this other crap. But that's a whole different beast within itself.
Yeah.
But
Right.
to me, there's not a necessary humidor, a freaking a holder that's not made that comes in imports from China.
Oh,
Right.
So it's gonna be hard for us to find something that's gonna be economically sound for us to purchase, right? We're gonna be like, whatever we have, we're gonna have to suck it up and just do what we got.
Yep.
Right today that just like the DuPont lighter, which is the kind of the premium lighter, they come from France. We hit France with 20%.
Mhm.
So now you're talking about $100 lighter, or I don't even know what a DuPont lighter goes for, but now you're talking about $150 for that lighter. And I'm already I already sort of cringed at $100 going. Oh, I don't know if I want to do that. It's 150. They're
Yeah.
But I still think it boils down to being selective. And we know certain people on this podcast like nice things, got 100 lighters, 25 cutters, and
Uh-huh.
some picks and stuff like that. But
That's priceless. That was awesome.
but
get
but
your
you
left right there because you ain't right.
Uh-huh.
That
but
was
you
perfect timing.
and I think you still have to be selective. And I know it sounds really crass and stuff like that, but if you can still have everything that you want, but it's certain times that you have to get it,
Yeah.
Right.
and you have to put hey, I'm gonna get this to go with that,
Yeah.
and now you're whole, So and I think that's the way you got to look at it. Most people are going to say, well, are you just being cheap? Nah, you're not being cheap. You're being smart about how you spend your money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Because we're already, cigars is already a very niche market.
Right.
Yeah,
And on those higher end lighters and cutters, that side is even smaller. There's
Right.
an even smaller percentage that's going to spend. I've seen DuPont lighters go into the thousands of dollars.
Absolutely.
That's like Sahakian will use that lighter because he can. And I love his channel, by the way. If he ever hears this, but like I said, we're small. That group is even smaller.
Right.
And and like I said, the pyramid, most of them, they're not going to care because they can wipe their buns with $100 bills all day long. They don't care.
Listen, we know people that have Monte Cristo four torch lighters. You know what I mean? Not mentioning no names. So, I'm not mentioning no names. But let me tell you something. I'm not. Yeah. But and listen, I am. All I can say is this, guys, that I'm curious to see what happens after the PCA.
Yes.
Okay, I'm curious to see what these manufacturers are going to do for us as consumers. Okay,
Mhm.
I really am. So I honestly think within the next 3 months we're going to see whether it's going to be status quo or the consumer's really going to feel it. Because if we feel it, guess what? We're not going to just suffer alone, right?
No.
I mean, it's just reality.
At the end of the day,
self-preservation. It really does.
The manufacturers work for us at the end of the day.
Of course.
Mhm.
and this is no attack on the industry by any means. So it's just that we're kind of sitting here chopping it up, just laying it out for everybody to have a game plan with when these tariffs do take place 100%, so that you guys will maintain the culture that's being built and has been built. So you know,
You know, I think that I think that entrepreneurs have such an opportunity right now if they choose to look at it as an opportunity,
Hmm.
because I think that us as Americans, maybe it's not even Americans. I think this is a human thing, but especially Americans because we have money. I think
Right.
that we have an actual opportunity if we choose to look at it, and by we I mean not including me, but actual entrepreneurial types that have money can innovate this particular industry and
Hmm.
find a way to do it at the same price and maybe even better. But because there's never been a demand for it to be done better, because it's like, why not? I can just buy it from China. I
Right.
think that there, if somebody's smart, they can take advantage of it right now and maybe have it already implemented in the next 2 years of a product that is going to be the Zycar. I don't know if all of their parts come. I don't know where their parts come for Zycar or from Colibri or Lotus. I don't know where any of this stuff is made. But I'm just saying, like steel. I think steel is something that we're doing well in right now. So when it comes to cutters, maybe that's an accessory that we can leverage the drop in steel prices here in the United States. I don't know. I'm just not a doom and gloom person, and I think that if if with enough will, you'll figure out a way to make it happen for those entrepreneurs that are determined to make it happen.
Yeah.
Well, you look at what happened during COVID. It produced more entrepreneurs back in that tough times, man.
Mhm.
So people were so innovative. So you look at
Mhm.
all the good things that came out of that tough times, and that's the beauty of it. Tough times build tough people, and you spin on a dime. You know what I mean?
Oh
So
yeah.
The other thing to look at too is and also as Americans, we get conditioned for things too. We were talking about this last night. When I first started, and I'm aging myself here, but when I first started driving, gas was 88 cents a gallon.
Damn.
mhm.
And
Right.
then and
Right.
at one point it went up to $3. And we were all like,
Yep.
oh my gosh, $3, no way. And then they dropped it down to $1.50. We're like, oh, okay, we're good.
Yep.
And then it went up to $5.
Yep.
And we're like, oh my gosh. And now it's down to, anywhere from 280 to 3, and we're conditioned to pay that now.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Right.
it's the same thing going to happen with cigars. We're conditioned to, like goes up a couple bucks. One manufacturer finally says, okay, look, I'm gonna lower my prices. I'm gonna eat this. They they go back a little bit, but we're still paying more. And they go, okay, all right, we're good.
It's like, we talked about this on Discord the other day when this is a beautiful, one of my favorite boxes is a simple CAO box. It's simple. It's a beautiful box. But most of the time when you're waiting for boxes, you're waiting for these and this hasp in front. Absorb some of the cost. I know these cigars are great and I'll buy them again. I don't care if you wrapped them in butcher paper and put a CAO sticker on the front of it. Eat some of the cost.
Right.
Mhm.
I'm gonna piggyback on Clint. Right. In regards to entrepreneurship. Right. I honestly think what I foresee are now these new crafts or boutique new companies. If they're smart, they take advantage of the situation.
Hmm.
Okay, because a celebratory cigar is going to be harder to purchase,
Mhm.
and those who are true enthusiasts like we are will be willing to try something new, especially if it's going to save us money.
Mhm.
Okay. And if you can find a way to produce a good quality cigar, good tasting cigar for a reasonable price, sky's the limit for you, buddy.
Yeah, and
Sky's the limit. I really do.
yeah,
You know, but you cannot become a new cigar company and start off at 12, 13, $14. Not,
absolutely
not,
not.
not with this going on.
No.
You better find yourself between now, because to me, I always said $8 to $12 is your margin, right? You're gonna have
Hmm.
to figure out something on the lower scale,
Yeah.
right? Not
Hmm.
necessarily cut back on quality, right? But I'm sure there's plenty of tobacco out there that you can find. It's just a matter of if you could find the right person that's willing to produce this cigar at a reasonable price for you. Because I honestly believe in my heart that those of us that are true enthusiasts, that we will go and purchase a cigar for two reasons. It's economically sound and it's enjoyable to smoke.
Yes.
Mhm.
Okay? If you could do that, you've hit a home run. And I'm giving you the formula. Whoever you are out there, I'm giving you,
It's
okay?
like, as much as we use this name in this company on this channel, I wish he could sponsor us. Rick Rodriguez can make a
Mhm.
beautiful cigar that sets in between $9 and $13.
Yep. West Tampa is no joke. Now,
He can
mind
make-
you, and it's crazy. But we've all said, right? The red will
That's
it's
way
it's a
above.
12. It's a 12. I'm even go. I would listen. Even I would go as high as probably $15 for that
Yes,
cigar.
absolutely.
Okay. Okay. I will, and mind you, that's how good that cigar is.
And
right?
he has the formula. He knows.
And the thing is this, and here is it's just shy of $10 here in South Florida.
Yeah.
Okay. And if you could get it for less than $10 in South Florida, because everyone knows South Florida is like the mecca of bouginess, right?
Yes,
It's all
it
about
is.
status down here, right? And this man is selling cigars, dude, hand over fist.
Yes.
Hand over fist. And the guy, and mind you, yeah, he's boutique, but he's an OG.
Yes,
right?
he
Mhm.
is.
Been around the
Mhm.
industry for almost 30 years.
Mhm.
Okay. The man's been around, he knows. And within that time, like we all know his story, right? He came from General, you know what I mean? That's how he get to meet all these people, and whoever he linked up with, whoever, he was able to produce a good quality cigar for a reasonable price. And
Yes.
that's what has made him such a success in a very short period of time. Now, mind you, his reputation preceded him.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that had a lot to do with it, because not anybody, any Joe Schmo could just come out of nowhere and produce a cigar and it'd be as successful in a very short period of time, because he's only been around since what, 2022?
Yeah, for West Tampa, yeah. And what's
Okay.
crazy is some of the cigars we love the most. We didn't know at the time that Rick Rodriguez had something to do with the flatheads, the Brasilia,
Yeah.
the Palone. I love the Palone. And I said he has the formula, and I think with this he's going to dig a little bit deeper, and he's going to have a line that's going to be more cost effective, other than the red. Now knowing that this is going to be happening, because more cigars are going to come out of Honduras and the DR right now until Nicaragua figures out their shipping to go there. So the conglomerate that was Nicaragua this last 6 months. Who's to say the DR is not the new conglomerate, or Honduras?
Yeah.
Well, maybe not Honduras, but I'm the only one that would want that. But DR.
AJ, think about what Rick told us on the podcast, that the Boliche Boulevard, the one that PC is smoking right now. He was so excited to get a cigar out on the market. He went down there. He was blending the cigar. They're like, "Yep, this is what we want. Great, come back." And he tells his partner, "Hey, I found our cigar. It's the greatest thing." And the partner said, "Well, how much is it?" And he went, "I don't know. Pretty nice." And so he made a phone call down there and said, "What are we going to sell the cigar for?" And with the Keystone pricing, it was going to be a $20 cigar. And Rick Rodriguez said, "We cannot go to market with our first cigar at $20. We can't."
Mhm.
So what they do, they sold those cigars,
Yeah.
their cost, or I'm sure they made a little bit out, whatever. But they sold those cigars for $13 and they ate that, and they discontinued the line because they couldn't be profitable doing that.
They only made 20,000. Because he told them, stop. Whatever you have, stop. But yeah, it's good. It's gonna be interesting, guys, to see what happens in the next few months. I'm definitely interested with JJ when you get back from the PCA to see what you find out, because there's gonna be a lot of chatter.
Oh,
A
yeah.
lot of chatter. A lot of
'cause-
these guys talking behind closed doors.
Because after each night there's going to be events. Like there's going to be a comedy event where Nick Perdomo and all them get on stage. They're going to talk about some of that stuff too. And there's going to be events at lounges in the area after each one of those nights. And there's going to be a lot of talk with a lot of big hitters in that room. And I'm just going to be all ears.
And also this same conversation is going on in every industry.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Cigars isn't unique in this. This conversation is going on in every industry.
And this just happens to be our passion.
What we're passionate about. Yeah.
Yeah.
Clint, you had something?
Yeah, you know what I think? I think take for instance this cigar right here. It's the
The Eagle.
Allegiance. Yeah. So this cigar has two bands on it and a foot band.
Hmm.
And I don't know. I know that these bands are costly, right?
Hmm.
If I think that this is an opportunity from a marketing perspective to release cigars and put them as the date, like print the date on it with just a single band, make the band still beautiful like this top band. Don't do a second band, maybe not even do a foot band because I like a foot band, but I don't care about a foot band that much.
No.
And then on the back, just put tariff edition. And then it becomes a collector's item.
Beautiful.
And you're gonna want to save that for the one day whenever everything gets worked out and the market is back to normal. And you're you get to have this piece of history now.
Hmm.
And it's like, oh, do you remember back whenever they first started putting that first band and they put the date of it on that? Like that's
Dude,
what
that's
I
a
It
already
real
know.
becomes it
awesome
becomes
idea.
a conversational piece. Yeah.
Dude, you know what
yeah.
I would do with that cigar? I would do a shadow box and just
Dude.
keep it there. I wouldn't even smoke it.
I now
Mhm.
know what our number one watch short's going to be.
Yeah,
That right there.
it's such a valid point. It really is
Absolutely.
because listen, cellophane, no cellophane. Are you a fan of cellophane or no cellophane, Clint?
I'm a fan. I'm a huge fan.
Right?
I prefer it.
Listen, because it prevents a lot of damage to the cigar. That's the
Yep.
main reason
Mhm.
why I
Yep.
like the cellophane,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Especially mold, right? Not plume, mold, right?
Hmm.
Or let alone beetles, right?
Hmm.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Because that's a big thing, right? Because sometimes, listen, I got a box of shoot, I'm not gonna
Don't
mention.
say the name.
I'm not gonna say the name, but it's a limited edition. Okay, I got 3 or 4 boxes of them. I got one box that I was forewarned by my lounge that the previous box had beetles in it. Okay, it's a limited run of 5,000. That's it. That's all they. All they. So they put them in. They put them in the freezer for me. For 72 hours. As a precaution. I smoked that cigar. I smoked 3 of them, and unfortunately, to me, it destroyed the cigar. It tastes extremely bland. It's stale. You know what I mean? It's just one of those boxes that I know that it is what it is. That's why I'm all for the cellophane. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Um, but that also is an extra cost, right? Everything's an extra cost. As we all know, any cost that's brought to the maker, it comes all the way down to the consumer. You know,
Hmm.
um, boxes, right? Boxes are nice, but the majority of us throw those boxes away.
Throw
How important are those boxes unless you have what Clint has behind them, right? The pinks, you know, those are rarities, or the conviction, those are rarities. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? But your average box, right? It's a waste of money. It really is, and that within itself will save consumers and the manufacturers and
Yep.
anywhere between, because we know somebody just paid $11 a box, right?
Yeah.
And so to me, it's like, are you going to eat that price now?
But I will say, as the consumer, if I'm ordering cigars online and I order a box of 20, I would prefer the box come to me in that ship.
Yeah, but
And
guess what?
it's just a preference.
But guess what, PC? That box is going to cost you more. You know why? Because it's weight, right?
Right.
So
Right.
to me, I'm okay with them selling, wrapping it in whatever the hell, cellophane or whatever you want to call it, and just ship it in a regular brown
Dude,
box. I don't
every
care.
day is cigar day. Cardboard.
Right?
Cardboard.
Let me tell you something. He's got something going.
Absolutely, he does.
He's got something going on. You know what I mean? That's Andres. Have you ever had a cigar from them, Clint? From Andres?
Yeah, I have. I had their budget line.
Yeah, it's not. Listen, their chunk,
Oh,
phenomenal smoke. You know what I mean? Their
Barber
barbacoa.
the cinnamony nutmeg
ridiculous.
you get off that, good Lord have
Yeah.
mercy.
Yeah, and dude, so I think even though his prices might go up because he is in Nicaragua,
Mhm.
you know what I mean? But
They started
he's-
so low.
yes. So even if they go up, I think they're still worth the price that whatever it costs them. You know what I mean?
Yes.
But he's
100%.
he's direct to consumer. You know what I mean? There's there's no in between. There's no retailers and stuff like that.
Right.
But yeah, it's going to be interesting, to see what happens in the next few months. You know, it really is. As a consumer, as an enthusiast, as someone that's been in this industry as a consumer for 30 years, I'm grateful for my collection that I got right now. You know what I mean? So why you shaking your PC?
I guess I started smoking one of these and that just enough time.
You know what I mean? But listen, I think what's happening, that those who have the finances are going to take advantage and load up, because even listening to Garofalo, doing that podcast, he had an additional $50,000 that he was going to spend somewhere else, and now he's
on a billboard.
on a billboard, you know what I mean? That he's going to go and load up, and you have a lot of these people purchasing warehouses, like you said, you know what I mean, to store this. Now, the drawback, and he brought it up, what ends up happening is that you buy all this, you rent out this warehouse, because normally these warehouses are a 3-year contract. Okay, is it going to be worth it?
In this last 3 months.
In the last 3 months,
now
you're in a 3-year contract. To me,
Or a 3-month problem.
I'm looking at a plan B, right? I'm looking at, okay, what else can I use that warehouse for?
I got an idea. Ship them to JJ. I have a huge shop in my backyard. I might have to do a little bit of R&D, make sure they're staying humidified and all that. But if you're listening, anybody, I got a lot of space in my shop out back.
Absolutely. So, guys, listen, I'm interested to see what you guys think of this. By all means, comment on any of the posts or the shorts, what you think. 'Cause I really want to know what all of yous, I say yous, I call myself all of you guys are thinking. Do you guys feel the way we expressed ourselves today? You know what I mean? I want to give thanks to Chris, the Godfather, once again, guys. TheGodfather.com. He's one of our sponsors. He has beautiful accessories. You know what I mean? Support him prior to all this goes crazy.
Yes.
I want to give thanks to Guapos and also to Burn One. JJ, let's show that beautiful bean footage.
And here we go.
What's going on, guys? This is your boy Panda, and your boy Panda has some great news. We have teamed up with Burn One Cigar Bar, located at 7328 Royal Palm Boulevard in Margate, Florida. Guys, Burn One Cigar Bar is your go-to destination for the finest selections of premium cigars at unbeatable prices. Step into a world of luxury and relaxation as you indulge in the smooth flavors and exquisite aromas of our carefully curated cigars collection. But that's not all. Burn One Cigar Bar has teamed up with us for an exclusive sponsorship opportunity just for you. When you call Burn One and purchase any box of cigars, you unlock a fantastic discount of 20% of your order using special discount code PANDA. You can contact Burn One at 954-970-0001 or on their social media pages, Facebook and or Instagram. Guys, don't miss this chance to elevate your cigar experience without breaking the bank. Visit Burn One Cigar Bar today, mention discount code PANDA, and treat yourself to premium cigars at an incredible value. Hurry up, this offer won't last. Burn One Cigar Bar where luxury meets affordability, and they ship nationwide. Peace.
Woo! There
Hey,
you
I
go.
I just realized something.
What?
In that video, your locker was bulging.
It was then. It wasn't after we left.
That is true. Hey, listen. Hey, Clint, if you don't know, that's the lounge. That's my home lounge.
Beautiful place.
These guys got to see it. These guys invaded my lockers, and I said it plural lockers. PC grabbed a
A
ambulance
handful.
bull that was plumed the hell out.
An Opus.
He grabbed one of my opuses that I'm like, dude, I can't give you that one because my best friend gave me that. So I gave him another one, a lot better than the one that these guys, I mean, listen, and these guys know, listen, to me, you come to my house, you go to my lockers, whatever, carte blanche, because I know you guys will absolutely enjoy every cigar. I have zero issues with that. I have issues with people that grab one of my expensive cigars and do absolutely nothing with it. It drives me crazy. I lose my ish, but that's no here or there. But guys, go ahead, JJ, go for it.
I would say my final thought on this whole thing is we're Americans. We're strong as hell. We're going to figure it out because we always do.
Yes.
Hopefully, the shenanigans the other countries have by, their bigger tariffs on us. Hopefully they straighten up and we go back to normal.
Yes.
That's what I hope. Like I said, I pray for the little guy, because I know the big guy's he's already going to make it. He's already made it.
Right.
But like I said, I live in the small town, so a lot of times I order my cigars because I got to drive 35 miles to the lounge, and he got a very small selection. So when I want to try something new, I got to hit CI or Neptunes.
Dude, I don't mean to interrupt, JJ, but Clint, I enjoy every time JJ has come to South Florida and I bring him to a lounge. When I tell you, it's like a kid in a candy store. His eyes light up, and it's like, wow, dude, I will never forget when he walked into Cigar International in Tampa, and it was just. It's just one of those things, man. And him coming from a small town, to be able to experience that, you know what I mean? Because it's all about what? Come on, hit it.
For me, guys, it's all about the experience.
The experience. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, man. But to me, I had to bring that up, man.
Actually, and it was definitely an experience. I graduated with 35 kids. 35 kids was my senior class. 1A school. I mean, from kindergarten to 12th grade, there's only a couple hundred students.
I misinterpreted that, JJ. I was like, how many women did you impregnate?
Well, I'm still trying to figure that out, but
he's only claimed 4, though. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Say, I want to have a little final thought here as well. And my final thought is, guys, we've said it 100 times, especially for us 5 on here, this is no longer a hobby for us. It's a lifestyle. Don't let this temporary situation ruin your love for this industry. And if you love for all of us, it has done something for us. It is
absolutely.
It's brought five guys here that didn't know each other before this, and we're all best of friends now. It's given me the peace I have. Because of it, I have my man cave now. I mean, it's done a lot of things for all of us.
Yeah.
Don't let this temporary situation ruin your love for this. Are we going to have to suck it up a little bit? Yeah, we probably are going to have to suck it up a little bit. But this is such a beautiful industry, and it's such a beautiful lifestyle that you can go to the cigar lounge, and we've said it before. You sit down next to a guy who makes $2 million a year, and you make 20,000. You're both equal in that situation. You're both smoking a cigar and chopping it up and talking about working for the man and talking, whatever you're talking about. It's such a beautiful industry and such a beautiful lifestyle that don't let this put a damper on that.
No.
It's not for me. I'm gonna tell you that right now. It's not for me.
I like that. Final thoughts, PC.
And I have to say, man, the cigar community is very resilient.
Mhm.
And the camaraderie that you get out of it, you can't find nowhere. You know, I played sports throughout the years, and look what come out of it. I got 5 good friends, that I can sit down with just because of the stick and or just because of a great cigar. And you will never have a better conversation over anywhere else other than smoking over a cigar.
Mhm.
So
Nobody got in a fight over
just
smoking a cigar.
so and I just say enjoy it, take it step by step, and do what you can, and continue to make the cigar community grow, man.
Absolutely.
That's my take.
Clint, any final thoughts, Clint?
Nope. I look forward to hopefully somebody taking my idea because I want to see it on the shelf.
Yeah, no, so my final thoughts is this, guys. There is no other industry that the camaraderie of people that gather from all walks of life get together.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter because for the most part, you will not socialize most likely with these individuals outside of the lounge.
No.
Mhm.
And once you in that lounge, it's like whatever you do is left at the door.
Yeah.
Right? Is left at the door. And I have had issues with my AC, right? And I've shared with these guys. One of the guys is an AC guy. This man drove an hour at 5:30 in the afternoon on a Sunday to drive all the way up here to fix my AC. Why? Because I'm a brother of the Leaf in the lounge, and he came out here. Okay, it's very rare that you find an industry that unite people from all different backgrounds, race, religion, politics, whatever the heck it is that you're about, and put them in a room and everyone's equal because everyone loves the one thing in common. And this has always been my mission since day one, and I've shared this, is to build this community as big as I possibly can. And there's no secret that the Panda loves to talk. I am not shy to express my opinion, give advice when asked. Sometimes sometimes unsolicited. But I can tell you this: whatever I do or say when it comes to this entity, is always comes from the heart.
Mhm.
Okay, don't ever ask for my opinion if you don't want to hear the truth. That I'll tell you because I am very transparent. That was something that I had a conversation with these 3 guys prior to us starting this podcast.
Yeah.
That I want nothing but transparency between the 4 of us. If there's something I said or did that you guys didn't like, I'm not going to get offended if you brought it up to me. What will bother me more is that if you hold it against me, you never brought it to my attention.
Yep.
Okay. That
My
to me
two
is what
things-
I have an issue with.
Yep.
Okay.
The round table.
Absolutely. And I told them there's no head of the table. I know these guys kind of say that I'm like the leader, etc. I don't find myself as the leader. Am I the most talkative? By far.
Yeah.
There is no secret. I am not a shy person. Click. When I went to your lounge, I came in with my hat tilted, walking with my bebop New York self, and people knew I was not from Texas, right? But I went next door, I bought a big ass bottle of 4 Roses, and I told people, if you want, come pour your own misery. But that's who I am. You know what I mean? Because that's how much respect and love I have for this industry, guys. I love this. I would love to have a big outing one day, and I would love for us to be the one hosting it. I would love to have, just an enthusiast outing, right? Forget about the vendors, bring your own sticks. Let's just go have a massive outing, and to me, and you know what? Let's share stories. I'm all for it. I'm all about it. The Panda got a bunch of stories because he can't stop talking. I'm just saying.
We know
But-
by the size of that head, you got some stories. Look at that thing.
So the crazy part is this man keeps on talking about my noggin, but this man, This man.
When I buy a fitted hat,
Juggernaut.
when I buy a fitted hat, it's an 8.
It says to be continued. I'm just saying.
I mean, it is a size 8. I guarantee you, my head alone. As you can see, I have no neck. It's head and shoulders. You know, you try to get me in a chokehold, I turtle. You ain't getting nothing but chin. But I give him hell about his head because it makes me feel better about mine. I don't have a 5 head. I have a 7 head.
So, listen. So I got 2 things left to say. One, PC, I can't believe you're wearing an Auburn hoodie, considering that Florida whooped that tail. And Clint, you kind of embarrassed us out here. You know, outshined us. You're our guest. Everybody in T-shirts. You got to come out here in your suit and tie.
Oh.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, keep them up there for a minute. Keep them up there. Okay.
Audience, it's AI generated. This isn't even real. I'm in a T-shirt right now.
Let me tell you something, guys. I need you to understand. This is Clint 24/7. 24/7. You see how the handkerchief got to match the tie? I mean, he got that $1 million smile, you know, and he is as bougie could
As
come.
dapper as
I'm
it gets.
telling you, listen, the Donna Dog has nothing on this man, guys. Once again,
Can
Clint,
confirm.
while you stood on the big screen, let people know where they can find you because they need to find you because you deserve it, brother.
Absolutely.
What are your social media pages, brother?
Primarily YouTube at Memento Cigars. You can also find me on TikTok, but I'm not going to post there anymore. They take down my content. And same thing with Instagram. If you want to actually just message me on Instagram. I'll probably respond back to you. But really, YouTube at Memento Cigars.
Beautiful. Guys,
I can confirm. I can 100% confirm. I have seen Clint in a pair of jeans and a nice hoodie. I can confirm that.
Listen, I want pictures. I don't believe you, man. I think this man was born with a suit and tie. I'm just saying. You know what I mean?
Hey, he came out doing this.
Listen, I honestly think he slapped the doctor. I'm just saying.
Dude, come out like
You know
Boss,
what I mean?
that cartoon Boss Baby.
Yeah.
Dude.
Like,
And listen,
move over. I'm gonna cut this for you.
and listen, I went to Texas and I surprised Clint, you know what I mean, his lounge, and he's thinner in person. It's like I wanted to run to McDonald's and buy this man like a massive Happy Meal Big Mac, freaking like double, you know, supersize it. You know what I'm saying? Put some meat on them bones, man. Put some meat on those bones. But anyways, all jokes aside, Clint, we absolutely love the fact that you came and joined us on this segment, man.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, man. Guys, if you like what you see, once again, subscribe to us, share. We're still trying to get to the 500 subscribers, man. We have a bunch of giveaways to give. And if there's a topic, if there's something that you want to add to this tariff conversation, by all means, let us know. We'll be more than happy to add you guys onto the podcast, man. We're more than willing to do it. And all you entrepreneurs out there as well, you know, if you want to broadcast your product, we'll do it for free. We ain't asking for nothing. No. Guys, we actually love you. We thank you for watching us, sharing us. And as always, guys, what do I say at the end? Peace.